Hey everybody, it's Anna J. Walner with the Author Library, and today I am beyond honored to be joined by Kathrin Hutson. Kathrin, for those of you who don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on your show, Anna.
Thank you for joining me.
I'm so happy to be here. This is great. I am Kathrin Hutson. I am an international bestselling author of grimdark fantasy, LGBTQ plus dystopian sci-fi, and most recently, my newest series. It's urban fantasy adventure mashup of all the other fun, crazy action and gore things. It's the Accessory to Magic series. And there you have it. That's who I am in a nutshell.
Can I say that I am absolutely honored and a fan. To have you on the show is I'm humbled and a little slightly intimidated. Spellcast Gate is the fifth book in the Accessory to Magic series, which is an amazing series. And it was just released. I mean, the whole series is amazing. The cover art will blow you away. Can you tell us a little bit about the series without giving spoilers? I know it's so hard.
I don't do spoilers. Come on, that's nobody wants that. Yes, yeah, like you said, the Accessory to Magic series, book 5, the Spellcast Gate, just came out June 24th. This was my first attempt at urban fantasy of my own. I have been ghostwriting it for clients for a couple of years and never thought I would be writing urban fantasy until it turned out that I have a knack for it. So I dove into this. My little elevator pitch, I guess, for the series, at least book 1, is which is The Witching Vault, which I very highly recommend anyone who wants to start the series starts at book 1. An apprentice witch with a criminal past inherits a magical bank that can think for itself, and the clientele are almost as dangerous as what's inside their safety deposit boxes. Ta-da! So it turns, book 1 kind of goes with a little bit of a murder mystery. Things are, excuse me, there are a lot of unknowns in the beginning, one big giant mystery, and it kind of unravels through the series. Jessica Northwood is a very special kind of witch. No spoilers, so I won't say anything. She was very much inspired by my own experiences and my own past struggles. So we meet her 6 months after she's released from magical prison. And I have not been to prison, but I've had my own legal run-ins. And she's just trying to find a job, any job, something to pay the bills. She stumbles into Winthrop and Durlage security banking and ends up falling into an apprenticeship with a crazy, eclectic, very hilarious, older-aged scryer witch named Tabitha, who can tell the future. And Jessica just gets tossed into one chaotic mess after another, and she's trying to figure out how to clean up the messes within her new job and within her own life. She had previously... She what? She's you? Is that what you said? Yes. She is me, 8 years ago. And so I drew from that. And she also has taken the most powerful parts of herself, her own magic. She keeps them locked away in a tin box in her underwear drawer, and that comes into play quite a bit throughout the series. This main character she's very stubborn. She's kind of a badass, although sometimes her stubbornness wipes the slate clean there, and she ends up making more problems for herself. There's a bit of a very slow burn enemies to lovers romance through the series with an infuriating fae man named Leandris and Jessica's dealing with the crazy world of magicals inside and outside the magical bank. And I in no way intended for the bank itself to be an actual character with speaking lines of dialogue, but that happened. My readers say that the bank is their favorite character, which, you know, if I can make people fall in love with a sentient building who acts and speaks like, you know, a very annoying older sibling, then I'll call it a win.
That is talent. That is absolute talent. So how is the process of blending urban reality with magical elements? I mean, what is that like for you? What kind of process is that from a writing standpoint? Do you plot or are you a pantser?
I'm a bit of both. Yes, we are mixed. It's great. I previously had only been a pantser because the act of plotting bored me, both like in and of itself, and then also I would get bored with the story because I already knew it was going to happen, and I left no room for surprises. That is what some of us come across. With the Accessory to Magic series, though, I did in fact do a minimal amount of plotting and preparation for this series. So it was a long work in progress before I ever finished and released The Witching Vault, book 1. But I don't do detailed outlines. I pretty much write up about 3,000 to 4,000 words of beats, just like summary of everything beginning to end. And that helps me map out what I'm writing. And all the fun and surprises come in between, everywhere else in between.
Oh, that's, you know, you mentioned, you know, how much alike you are with the main character. And I think that's part of the fun. And what makes a good story is drawing on personal experience, because it makes it that much more authentic for readers. And then to be a bit of a pantser, like, you know, whenever you're surprised by something that just happens, like your character goes on a, you know, where they're not supposed to go, and then you have to write them out of it. Like it's a happy, you know, you're excited about it and surprised, and the reader is too. So that's part of the fun and excitement of being a pantser. I don't think I could ever be like a by the book plotter.
And that's okay. It's, you know, different for everybody. Everyone has their own way of writing and of crafting a story. My brain is already very scattered. I can't listen to one album all the way through from front to back. I always have my music on constant shuffle, and I have a hard time binging shows. I like break them up and have to insert new things. I can't ever read 2 books in the same genre back to back. So planning everything out just doesn't work for me. But that is part of the magic and the surprise for me as the author, is that I know where I am in the moment with my stories. I know where I want to be, and beyond that, it's just as much of an adventure as my own life has been, probably more in some ways. Hopefully that's like a good thing. But yeah, you know,
it keeps the act of writing fun too, you know.
It does, yeah. And I have previously tried to outline, but I always lose interest, and then it doesn't go anywhere, so I stopped.
Well, you've already answered this. Jessica Northwood, throughout the entire series, definitely a badass. But in addition to witches, which Jessica is, then what other supernatural creatures do we find in this world?
In this world, yes. Well, like I mentioned, there are fae. They are few and far between in the series for good reason. Leandris is the main fae, and he is something else. I'll just say that, which is, you know, how this enemies to lovers romance progresses. And beyond Fae, you know, it's got the normal, I guess traditional you would say, fantasy races. Like there are trolls and orcs, dwarves, mages, warlocks. There are blood mages, and then I had some fun creating some new races. So there are the Umbal, and they basically live in multiple planes of existence, so they can teleport, sort of, phase in and out, and they have an extra magical boost when it comes to performing spells. And changelings, which I vied away from the traditional sort of definition, I guess, of changelings in legend.
Right.
And so these aren't Fae babies who've been exchanged with human babies. They can actually, they're shapeshifters, basically. They can change their skin and their limbs and arms. So, you know, a hand can become a knife blade to use as a weapon, or a cup, or whatever it needs to be at any given time. And there are the Matog, which Jessica's old boss, who's a really awful character, and he gets what's coming to him eventually. It's more or less like a grinning nightmare demon with wings, super powerful. I played a lot. I played around with a lot of different races, and then eventually, when Jessica and Leandris go through the portal into a different world, which you readers will find when they get through the series, I got to make up a whole bunch of other new races in a new world that, you know, didn't have to conform to what would even work in an urban fantasy setting in a city. So, you know, when you take away what we know of the real world, you get to do whatever you want. And that has always been my favorite part of fantasy. I got to do it with urban fantasy this time, and it was so much fun.
You're making all my points. Yes. No, that is the absolute best thing about writing fantasy, is that, you know, you're the master and creator. I mean, whatever you say goes, as long as you can make it believable for the audience, then it's a go.
That's right. That's right. I will say I do not enjoy the research aspect of urban fantasy in any way. You know, being set in a real city. This series is set in Golden, Colorado for the most part, which is just 25 minutes away from me. And I still had, you know, you have to look up bus routes and street names and how to get from here to there and make it work. And I've gotten a lot better at research over the years. I don't enjoy it.
Google Maps helps.
Oh yes, Google Maps is a constantly open tab on my computer.
The author library is not affiliated with Google Maps. Just saying. So do you think this is it for Jessica? Is this the final book in the series, or no way?
It is definitely the final book in the series.
It is?
It is, yes. But I planned it out to be 5 books, and I did also leave the ending open for more adventures. We'll see what happens. It is an official ending. It's not a cliffhanger. It's not anything frustrating. The Accessory to Magic series is finished, and I am already working on something in the same world. So there will be more of that. Who knows? More cameos of Jessica and Leandris. Maybe even another series with Jessica. You never know.
Well, yeah, sometimes you get attached to your characters, and it's hard to let them go. Mm-hmm. So leaving that kind of open possibility, you know, to revisit in a different way, maybe from a different person's perspective or a different story's perspective, is always something that and I think readers too, you know, they get attached to the character. And
Definitely.
so, you know, it's bittersweet for them whenever they have to let that character go or set of characters go.
Mm-hmm. And I've already had a few readers after they have gone through Spellcast Gate, the final book, say, I'm so sad the series is over. But there will be more. There will always be more. Yeah, there will always be more. And I think it was the weekend before the final book released. And I realized that it was over. It was over. I'm moving on to a new project. These characters are done. I'm not diving back into another book. And I did have a little bit of a cry, which has never happened to me before. So, you know, needless to say, I absolutely love the series and the characters. It's the longest standing series that I have written of my own books so far. And
you know, I don't think that readers I don't think sometimes readers understand that we're just as sad to see the story end as you guys are.
Yeah.
Like, really.
We've been there with them.
We're not trying to be mean. We're sad too. Like, really.
Well, we are also the ones who, you know, decide what happens to them. So there, you know, we do have a little more agency there. But that to me is what makes it so much fun to be able to get disinvested with my characters. So yeah, I'm excited to see how any or all of them may come back in the future. I know they will.
You're dropping some hints a little bit.
Hey, you know, get people excited. Why not?
So when you first began the series, did you know it was gonna get this big? I mean, like the fan base for it, and how did it change did it change over time, or did you really stick to what you wanted to do with the series?
Those are really good questions. No, that's great. I ended up creating all 5 books in the series pretty much in alignment with what I had planned for each book. There were a few extra things added here and there, obviously. A few things taken away, like the bank became its own character with lines of dialogue and a really fully fleshed out sentient building that's been around for, hundreds if not thousands of years. So in that, in that regard, things pretty much turned out the way I planned. And of course, you know, every author is always hoping that the next book, the next series they write will just be bigger and better than the last, will explode. And even with the book 1, when The Witching Vault released, I was so surprised by the reception that it had and how much people loved it, and how much I heard that it was an urban fantasy action adventure that was completely different than what anyone else has been seeing. And that's always what I try to do. I try to be different. I try to pull out the weird, quirky things, because that's what makes me tick. And so I wanted to put that into my books. And I didn't know how well veering off the traditional story route of urban fantasy would go, but it has gone very well. And the entire series is better than I imagined. Not better than I could have hoped for. There's always hoping for more, right? I'm very happy with how it was received, and I was incredibly humbled by the response from the very beginning, and by how many people reached out to me, how many readers said they have enjoyed these stories so much, and Jessica and her interactions with the bank and Leandris and Confucius, who is an immortal lizard who kind of does stuff sometimes, but mostly doesn't.
Isn't that the best feeling whenever someone, you can, you know, what is the best, I guess I could ask, what is the best compliment that you've ever gotten? But I would have to say that, you know, a character that's based on traits that you see in yourself, like Jessica, whenever someone says, I love this character, I resonated with them so much, I have to think that that's just like the best compliment ever.
It is wonderful. It's definitely in some ways serves to reaffirm the things that I have been through, right? And struggles like we all have. We all have those dark parts. We all have the pieces of ourselves we wish we could lock up in our underwear drawer. And I would be lying if I said there are some readers out there who do not enjoy Jessica as a character.
You're always gonna have
it does. It always happens.
Yeah.
And I always laugh when I read those because, first and foremost, fair. No one is required to like everything I write or all of my characters. Absolutely. If I wrote likable characters across the board, I would be doing something completely different. But I do think it's funny that I think a lot of the comments about Jessica Northwood as a character that are in a more negative light to say that she's so stubborn and she can't pull her head out long enough to know what's good for her, right? And it makes me laugh because I have been there. And I know real people in my real life have said the same thing about me at one point or another. And the point of Jessica's story, specifically in Accessory to Magic, is to highlight the message that I am always trying to put out there in my books, which is that the mistakes we make and the harm we cause to ourselves and others does not define who we are moving forward. So there's definitely a learning curve.
I love that.
For Jessica. Thank you. There's a learning curve for Jessica, very much like there was for me. And I will say with complete honesty that I have not always made the best decisions for myself. And I have been so stubborn to the point of probably multiple people wanting to throttle me. And now I'm here. So there are defining moments in each of our journey where we have the choice to decide to do and be something different than we've always done and been. And so for my readers who were initially incredibly frustrated with Jessica and her stubbornness in the beginning, so far it seems that they have all come to enjoy her at least a lot more by the time they reach book 5. I enjoy her 100% all the way through, and most of my readers do as well. I won't shy away from saying she's a frustrating character, and that's the characters I write. So they all are.
You have a ton of fans out there, and I am one of them. And I know that that everybody is number one, grateful to know that you are working on something new, yes. Holding their breath, waiting to find out what it is, and excited now that you might have possibly hinted about the fact that we might get to see some beloved characters that we thought were gone for good.
Yes, they'll never be gone for good. I have big plans. So yeah, I'm just as excited. I can't say much more about it yet, but it's in the works.
Well, Kathrin, thank you for honoring me enough to come on the show today and spend some time talking about your amazing series and your writing process. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Anna. Thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun. And I do love hearing how much people are enjoying the series. So thank you for having me on this. It's been great.
Yes, absolutely. And whenever you're ready to come back on, whenever you want to talk about that new project,
yeah. You'll hear about it.
Let me know. For everybody else, guys, check out the links in the description below. And if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on more amazing guests that are coming up. And just stay safe, stay healthy, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks again.